you said that made me think of a completely different meme. It just made me
I'm happy that I could provide this level of entertainment for, if anybody, you, John. Hey everybody, my name is Joseph. You're listening to the MTG Thoughtcast, and today we're talking about breaking some Commander rules. Yes, that is all of the relentless cards that say that you can have as many copies of them, that breaks the Singleton rule of Commander. That's today's topic. We're going in. We're going to be talking about all of them in chronological order, ranking them, rating them, talking about staples, cool ways to play them. Who's going to be talking with me about this? None other than my own brother and your other host here on the MTG Thoughtcast, John Kendall. John, how are you, buddy?
There you all go. He rattled down the too long didn't watch. Now you can skip right to the end. Now
Absolutely.
it's all good. Hello, everybody. Good day. Good evening. Yes, we are breaking rules tonight.
I broke the rules. So if you haven't watched our last episode where we talked about cards that you missed in Tarkir Dragonstorm, there is Tempest Hawk, which is the 11th card in Commander that allows you to play more than one copy of it in your deck. So we figured it was as good of a time as any to go through and talk about each one of those, what decks you might play them in, what the staples are, all of that. Before we get into the meat of the episode, we have a little bit of upkeep to do. If you scroll down just a little bit, there's a couple of beautiful little buttons, likes, comments, subscribes. Those help us out a ton. Y'all have been crushing the subscriber count. We're flying through the 800s. If by the time we released the last episode, we were already well past where we said we were. So thank you guys so much for subscribing. Those of you who already do and give us comments and likes and all the things. If you're not a part of that, go ahead and jump down there. Give us some likes, comments, subscribes, shares, turn the bell on, all of the YouTube things. While you're down there, you might see in the description that we have a Discord page that's linked. Yes, it is totally free. It's the easiest way to get access to both of us and to the entire Thoughtcast community. We play Commander games together. We brew decks together. We talk about memes. It's a great time. Jump on down to our Discord right there. You'll be the first to know about all the episodes and cool things that are coming out with the MTG Thoughtcast. For our Spotify listeners, we love you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Go ahead and drop us a 5-star review on the Spotify page. That's all you got to do. You have so much less work to do than all of the YouTubers. But thank you to everybody who interacts with all of us and keeps the algorithm happy with the MTG Thoughtcast. Let's go ahead and get directly into today's episode, John, which you can have any number of copies of this episode of the Thoughtcast in your playlists. Why don't you take us away with what we're talking about today, John?
Yeah, here's your relentless request. Go ahead and just open up this tab about 4 more times and just play it in sync with each other.
Yeah, baby.
Excellent. Yeah, so we are talking about today, as very easily described, the relentless creatures. What does this mean? Where does this come from? What do you mean, break the rules? All this and more on the following episode. like an infomercial, right?
I love it. Yeah. That's about the third too long didn't watch that we've done.
So this name derives from the first card we're going to be talking about today, Relentless Rats. And the idea behind it is that they are a card type that has a fundamental game-breaking rule, which is, if you actually know about the history of Magic, is actually not so much a game-breaking rule as it was kind of the start of like a callback to kind of how Magic used to be. Very, very old players of the game may actually know that there was a time when deck construction did not have a limit to the amount of stuff you could throw in your deck. So the classic joke of like, oh, my deck is 30 Black Lotuses and 30 Lightning Bolts.
Win the game.
That's how Magic used to be back in the day. So when a card like Relentless Rats was first shown off, it was not only a very interesting new deck idea that you could do since that gameplay change was made, it was kind of like made like a callback, sort of like, hey, do you miss that old style of just having your deck full of rats? You can do that now
For sure.
with this card. And since the printing of Relentless Rats originally in 5th Dawn, that is the 3rd set in the original Mirrodin block, we have seen a variety of other cards, both in unlimited and specific number quantities across all 5 colors.
That's right. Take me away.
And
Tell me
so,
about Relentless Rats, brother.
yeah, so let's dive into Relentless Rats specifically, and then we're going to start going down the chain of release order here. Kind of, air quotes. I'll get to that in a minute. Relentless Rats first, though, is 1 and double black for a 2/2 rat. Relentless Rat gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield named Relentless Rat. And we won't go over this across every single one of these, but every single one of these you can just assume has the text on them that says a deck can have any number of card named, insert name.
Yes.
Um,
Mostly.
and yeah, this one's cool. I like these. Again, the original, where the name Relentless kind of comes from, and it's nice. Like you slam him down, you slam more of them down, and I guess in a hypothetical weird world, if somebody else was also playing Relentless Rats, yours will look across the battlefield and check theirs as well.
Oh, I forgot about that. You're right. That just checks for any Relentless Rats on the battlefield.
Yeah, it was like this was originally printed during a time frame where some of these sort of like kindred theme style cards, they were still like checking the battlefield. See old slivers for an example on that. And yeah, it kind of is what it says on the tin. You play a Relentless Rat, and then you play a Relentless Rat, and then you play a Relentless Rat. And that's kind of going to be the theme across a lot of these cards, but some of them do some slightly different things here or there as we will go into talking about them. But as the very first one, it had a very simple concept. You play your rats and you get them big.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a boring card. Like 3 mana for a 2/2 alone is not great. 2 of them, though, 3 mana for 2 3/3s is pretty good. And then as you get higher up through that, it gets better. So I think that the Relentless Rats takes a bit more to get going. But again, it was the OG. None of these would have existed without Relentless Rats. We still call these cards Relentless cards because of Relentless Rats. So grateful for what it added to the game. I would not say that I'm looking to play a Relentless Rats deck anytime soon.
Yeah, I suppose like it's the Relentless Rats and what we are going to talk about here real shortly here, the Rat Colony. These are kind of the go-to ones for anybody who is looking to do Rat Kindred and doesn't want to do with like individual cards in their decks,
For sure.
right? Like if you want to build a Rat Kindred style deck with a card like Karamonix the Rat King, you could just do Relentless Rats.
100%.
You could also just do Rat Colony.
Which we'll talk about next, I think.
Yes, yeah. I was gonna bring up Rat Colony next, just simply because this is not the next one as far as release order is concerned, but Rat Colony is just so closely tied to like what Relentless Rats does that it's kind of just worth talking about them both at the same time, more or less.
Definitely. Well, I love the
Go
idea
ahead.
of like this feels like something that rats do, where like you see one and there's actually 6 of them. So I do love this idea thematically that like Relentless Rats, Rat Colony, which we'll talk about in a second, like you could just have a deck of just the 2 of those. They sort of check off of each other, and then you just throw like a pack rat in there as well, and it'd be great. And again, you just have these like multiplying armies that grow based off of each other. So that's a really cool thing that rats have in their identity.
Yeah, you specifically would want to do the pack rat with doing Rat Colony specifically, because if you will notice, Relentless Rats only gets bigger off of other copies of just Relentless Rats. Where if we go ahead and dive in real quick into Rat Colony, they do cost 1 mana less. They are 1 and a black. They are a 2/1. They only get a +1/+0 boost. However, they check for every rat. So it does not matter if the other rat is the same name or if it's a token or whatever. So there's some pro and con to probably playing both. Like on the one hand with Relentless Rats, they have a base that's a little bit bigger and they boost their own toughness, but Rat Colony checks your whole battlefield for whatever you got.
Yeah. So that's what I say is cool is like you can use these, they work together well because all of your rat colonies will also check off of all of your Relentless Rats.
Yep. Some other really sick commanders between the 2 of these I saw, like the classic rat one is Marrow-Gnar.
Yep.
Giving all your rats fear. I have personally, at our local shop, I have played against somebody who has done a rat colony deck using Garna the Blood Flame. It was a Rakdos Rats Aristocrat deck.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Aristorats, nice.
Aristorat.
Garna's the one that brings all the cards back to your hand when they die, right? Like it comes in, brings
Yes.
everything back. Yeah. That's
Yep.
really sick, actually.
One of the blood type. Rat Colony would actually be a very interesting pick for Luris of the Dream Den as a commander as well, because you could just recast them from the graveyard.
Or as a companion as well. If you had another white black,
Another
like
white black thing. Yep.
okay, let's say we do Elis Ilkor, so that it's your stuff is each rat pings the table, each of your rats die and gains you life, or vice versa, and then Luris as your companion. Now you get to recast those when they die. They ping the table again. I love this. I'm in, dude.
That's really cool. Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it time for us to talk about Thrumming Stone for any of these?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an obvious choice for whichever of these you'd like to pick.
Yep. So over the course of these cards, there has been some like kind of like relentless staples that have made their way into the format of doing Commander when playing these types of cards. And Thrumming Stone is iconically probably one of the most like, I guess it would be the most iconic when it comes to playing Relentless. You don't really get to play this card pretty much anywhere else other when doing it as a Commander Relentless.
No.
It's a very, very weird one from the original Cold Snap, a 5-mana legendary artifact that says spells you cast have Ripple 4. Essentially, the short on how this works is that when you cast a spell of any name, even if it's not even the Relentless ones, you'll flip 4 cards off the top. If you find another spell of the same name, you get to cast that one for free. And a lot of people actually don't realize with Thrumming Stone that if you cast a spell from Ripple, that spell
it
gains
continues
Ripple.
the Ripple.
So the idea is kind of with Thrumming Stone, you cast one of these Relentless cards, you flip your library's worth of that card into play.
Exactly, right. I think personally, this is a really boring way to play Relentless style decks. I have a Relentless deck, which we'll get to later, but I don't play Thrumming Stone in it because that just feels like a 1-card combo that's boring to me. But there's no shame in playing Thrumming Stone in any of these decks. What I will say is interesting about Thrumming Stone and why it's cool to play it is, like you said, you don't get to play that kind of card in Commander because it's a singleton format. So there's things like that. There's things like Locket of Yesterdays. There's other ones we'll get into that care about spells that have the same name. That becomes this cool. It's almost uncanny valley for Commander to like, okay, I'm playing the singleton format, but I want to play all these cards that care about spells that have the same name or cards that have the same name. So I think that's what makes them particularly interesting. Like I said, Thrumming Stone is not my cup of tea or my choice or flavor on how to do a Relentless deck, but it is the powerful way to do it, I would say.
Yeah, we'll bring up another particular favorite when it comes to like a bunch of other ones that care about casting spells or names with the same name or whatever. But I want to tie that one into Shadowborn Apostles, which we will go into next.
You
want to go into that one?
Yeah, let's talk about Shadowborn Apostle. It's a single black mana for a 1/1 human cleric. Obviously, it says you can have any number of them in your deck. And you can pay a black and sacrifice 6 of your Shadowborn Apostles to search your library for a demon card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So 6 of these guys goes and finds whatever demon you want and just puts it straight on. So unbelievable flavor with this. Like all of these apostles sacrificing themselves to bring forth this demon. I would say this is the one that really put Relentless on the map. Like when Shadowborn Apostles came out, it still is a few dollars a piece. There's so many different variations on it now. This was the one when I first started hearing about Relentless style decks, especially in Commander. Shadowborn Apostle was the one.
And it's so funny that has picked up such an iconography as far as this is the really cool card that you want to play in Commander do it. Because when you think about it long term, sending 6 Shadowborn Apostles to the bin is not any more mana efficient than it would be just tutoring and casting the demon, right?
I mean,
you've got 6 black pips and then another black pip to sacrifice them. So you're 7 mana in at that point, minimum. You know what I mean?
Like, which, like, if you're playing a 9 or a 10 drop guy, then
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the other things around it that you're doing. It's flavorful for sure. But correct. Especially, I know I see you have it mentioned here in your notes of having your commander be like Athreos, God of the Passage, where you're getting my deck. Yes, you're getting benefit from sacrificing them. So it kind of becomes its own aristocrats deck while you're also tutoring and playing these gigantic demons. Like you get to just put out all of these crazy demons while you're doing all of your aristocrat stuff.
Exactly. The other, like you see in there, like one of the other cool ones I found was that Ashnod the Uncaring. That's a Grixis.
Yes.
That's a Grixis commander that
Yeah,
will
doubles your
trigger.
sacrifice triggers. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, or it specifically would double the search for a demon because you sacrificed creatures as part of the cost to activating it. So you would throw your 6 apostles into it, and then Ashnod would give you 2 demons.
That's cool. That's especially good post like the 40k commander decks where Grixis Demons was one of the decks. You could just throw Ashnod in the command zone, have all of your Shadowborn apostles in the deck, and then just find these crazy 40k Grixis Demons with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Very tight.
Some interesting synergy cards if you were doing Shadowborn Apostles in some different colors. There's this really fun one called Blood Bond March. It is 2 black and a green for an enchantment. When a creature spell is played, each player returns all cards with the same name as that spell from their graveyard to play.
Oh god.
Yeah, so you sack your 6 apostles to go get a demon, play 1 more apostle, and the 6 apostles that you sacrificed earlier come right back.
Dude, that's awesome. What a cool find. Again, that's one of those things that would not work in any other commander deck.
Right. Another favorite of mine, because again, you had mentioned about the Athreos as well. That was my original Relentless deck that I did. I did the Athreos God of Passage, did a white-black kind of shell for 2 specific big reasons. One, the option of white-black opened up to playing one of my favorite creatures of the game, Edgewalker.
That makes the clerics white and black cheaper. So you get your Shadowborn Apostles become free.
Yes, there are not very many cards in the game that drop you down the cost of a spell on its mana pips.
Right.
So being able to drop these Shadowborn Apostles for free was a huge part of that. But the other one was to open up into a different white enchantment, Remembrance. 3 and a white for an enchantment that when a non-token creature you control is put into a graveyard, you may search your library for a copy of that creature card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle.
Sick. So you sack 6 of them, get 6 more. Just continue doing it. That's awesome.
Yep. Keep doing that chain of command for a long while.
So cool. What was the what demons were you pulling out with it?
Let's see. So like at the time you could do stuff like Runescar Demon. There was actually like Shadowborn Demon from Core 14 was really, really bad. You didn't actually want to go get that one, but
right.
I guess there may have been a brief period when you could do Gristlebrand, maybe.
I don't even know.
Because Core 14 came out in 2013, which is when Innistrad was printed. So, like, maybe?
Yeah, who knows? But I like the idea of getting Runescar Demon because it's just another tutor for anything else. So you can then go and get your Thrumming Stone. So it becomes a sack 6 of them. Go get the Runescar Demon. Go get Thrumming Stone.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Okay. That's very fun.
Well, let's exit out of the world of black and talk about the first Relentless card that was printed in a different color, the blue one.
Yes, dude. Let's talk Persistent Petitioners. This one is so divisive. Oh my god. Persistent Petitioners is 1 and a blue for a human advisor. It's a 1/3. You can obviously have as many of them in your deck as you want. You pay 1 and tap it. Target player mills a card. Or it has another ability of tap 4 untapped advisors you control. Target player mills 12 cards. So as you accumulate these on the board, every set of 4 of them, you can just tap 4 of them to make someone mill 12 cards, including yourself.
Yeah. Self-mill, target player mill, make everybody mill, you know?
Right.
However method you want to do. What I love the most about this here, like again, as we talked about, as we're now rolling into a different color that isn't black, I love that they have found like unique defining characteristics that make for each other color. Like what's the reasoning as to like why you would have so many of these cards in your deck at a time? Whereas like these ones with black all care about more. They are big band grouping together, going in for one big combat or being one big sacrifice thing. That wouldn't make any sense for blue. So of course, a big group of aristocrats who would just be like standing around, like lecturing you to death is amazing.
For
You
sure.
know,
Yeah. And you obviously get to
filibuster.
play other advisors in this deck. So Bruvak the Grandiloquent is the obvious choice for the commander for this deck, which just doubles any of your mill. So it becomes target player mills a quarter of their library when you tap 4 of them. You also have on here Finax, God of Deception, which means they either individually. Oh, that's interesting. So they either can tap to mill 3, so you could tap 4 of them to make someone mill 12, or you could tap 4 of them to make someone mill 12.
In increments of 3, though. That's specific,
Exactly.
right?
Specifically. So anything that cares about like when 1 or more cards hits the graveyard or whatever, you get to play those. This also is really good with, is it not Mind Stone? The one that whenever you untap a permanent, somebody mills.
That is oh no.
Come on, Oracle.
Mesmeric Orb. Mesmeric Orb.
For sure. So I think Persistent Petitioners is most powerful in a self-mill deck because, again, as we talk about any other mill deck in Commander, it's going to be more powerful. You only have to, if you're trying to mill yourself out, you only need 100 cards. If you're trying to mill the table out, you need to mill 300 cards. So any type of self-mill involved in this is going to be significantly stronger. Obviously, with Finax, God of Deception, you get access to Thoracle combos. With Black, you either get, Contract or whatever, Demonic Consultation.
One of those. Yeah.
One
pick
of
your
those.
favorite.
You get the blue-black Thoracle mills, and then you just have access to, oops, I milled my entire self out anyway. So it's just another cool way to do a very not cool way to win the game. But yeah, it's awesome. This is sick that they started branching out into different abilities, because from here, the Shadowborn Apostles was like an edge into reusing abilities on Relentless style cards. It's not just combat damage for them. This one was directly like, you are not going to be attacking with these whatsoever.
Or you could be attacking with them if you use the Wise Mothman, like I had suggested in there as well, because like every single time they're milling, you can start putting the counters on the on the petitioners themselves, and then you can start getting in for combat there as
Persistent
well.
Petitioner Voltron.
I love it.
I love the idea of all of these like advisors to the Mothman. Like that's really flavorful. It's like they're like the devotees of the Mothman, and they're milling the table to fuel the Mothman and giving him more counters and power.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it. Let me go ahead and dive us into the next one here, because this next one we're about to talk about is one of the first breakaways that happened with talking about the Relentless. And truthfully, in my opinion, this is the one that is the most underrated as far as Commander is concerned. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Talk to me.
This is our good friends from the Throne of Eldraine, the 7 Dwarves. There's 1 in a red for a 2/2 dwarf that it gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 dwarves you control. But unlike the other Relentless that we've talked about, a deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 dwarves. So
it's clever.
You still get to yes, it was a very clever analogy because Throne of Eldraine storybooks. Way. So you still get to break the rule of having more than 1 copy in your deck, but you are not allowed any more than 7, which builds around for a more interesting build dynamic, because I think truthfully on their face, they are like on equal power level as Relentless Rats, if not more. Because
sure.
they cost 1 more to get down, 1 less to get down, excuse me. But they still start out as a 2/2, and they buff each other equal to power and toughness, which is something that like is different from Rat Colony.
Right.
So
they just become these big. It's almost Tarmogoyf-y. These like 2-mana things that are going to be huge.
Yeah. So while you are not going to have immediate access to like as many of them as frequently, the ones that you are able to get down as they start seeing each other, whatever method you end up doing that, by the way, cards like these that are checking for other cards of the same name, it does not care how that other named card got down into play. So if you have had a clone come down as that name, it now has that as its name, and it'll check off of each other. If you have made token copies of it with something like Rite of Replication, those tokens share the same name. If you make one-time combat effects of them with like Myriad or Helm of the Host or any of these other things just basically any means that you are able to start generating copies of the same card, they share the same name, and cards like this will benefit from that.
Yes.
Specifically,
There's the guy who does sort of, it's like Kiki Jiki. It's like a 2-mana creature that's got a bunch of abilities. The first one's Kiki
uh,
Jiki. The second one's like 5 Kiki Jiki.
or
It's
Thorian.
Thorian. Yes, that's exactly what it is. That'd be a great commander for this because you just make like 5 copies of them and they're all of them get +5/+5 from it.
Yeah, that was one of the points I was just about to get to as well, right? This is a card in red. How many of those cards can you think of that are in red that let you do those impulse one-time attack token kind of things, right? Like
So many.
the spells would be like, oh, make 2-3 copies of this card. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the end step.
So many.
Seven Dwarves doesn't care how long it's going to be down in play. Every single one of those is going to be seeing each other for that combat. So
Definitely.
more so than the Relentless Rats, the Seven Dwarves is going to be a huge combat-focused style deck. There's also just some objective reasoning that like Seven Dwarves could just be the best dwarves to play in Dwarf Kindred, just kind of as a whole, because
sure.
dwarves are not really great.
Not super supported, I would say.
No. So if you're playing something like Magda, the Brazen Outlaw, these are a fantastic pick for
Right.
one like that. I've also got written in here things like Riku of 2 Reflections to kind of go off of that token theme that I was talking about as well, right?
Making copies.
You cast a 7 dwarves, pay into Riku, make another 7 dwarves, so you can kind of double your count of dwarves that you have in the deck. Very, very cool as well.
With Magda, because I don't have the card pulled up in front of me exactly, she goes and finds an artifact, right?
She goes and finds yes, she gets an artifact or a dragon after
Speed run the
tapping.
Throwing Stone.
Boom!
We're back.
Speed run the Throwing Stone. Yeah. Or Mirror Box actually was one that I wanted to bring up as a potential relentless one as well. It doesn't work with doing like the token copies of 7 dwarves because Mirror Box only checks for non-token creatures that share a name with it. But Mirror Box is a fantastic one to do in any of these that you're doing combat focus related ones. It gives a boost, kind of like a small what's the card? Coat of Arms.
Yeah.
But to your non-tokens that share a name with each other amongst the cards on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's a good one for Relentless Rats. It's a good one for Rat Colony. It's a good one for here.
Yeah. Not so much a good one for our next card. Do you want to take us in with Dragon's Approach?
Dude. This is where I start really getting in here. So Dragon's Approach, let me pull it up so I have it correct on Scryfall.
The first Relentless Sorcery, by the way, going in release order here.
Yes. So this is, technically this is the first Relentless one in red outside of the Dwarves, which had 7 copies. So this is the first.
Yes.
Dragon's Approach is a sorcery. It's 2 in a red, and it says a deck can have any number of cards named Dragon's Approach. So it's cool that they're using red to kind of break the cycles a little bit. But it's a sorcery that deals 3 damage to each opponent for 3 mana. And then you may exile it and 4 cards named Dragon's Approach from your graveyard. If you do, search your library for a dragon creature card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So Dragon's Approach itself plus 4 others. So on your 5th Dragon's Approach cast, unaltered by obviously self-mill or anything like that, you then get to go search for a dragon and put it onto the battlefield, which is awesome because you've also presumably done 15 damage to the table with it.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Dragon's Approach is really, really sick. I want a quick shout out to Rachel Weeks' Dragon's Approach deck. It's one of my favorite Relentless decks that I've seen. It's a blue-red Dragon's Approach deck that uses because it's a spellslinger deck that also just goes and finds dragons. So you go and find the blue-red what's it called? It was from Strixhaven.
Galazeth Prismari?
You find Galazeth Prismari, which makes treasure tokens that can tap for more instants and sorceries. So you just get to keep churning through all these Dragon's Approaches.
Oh, I
was gonna fan of this one.
I was gonna bring up. I don't know if you'd been on the receiving end of our friend from the Discord. Have you been on the front end of the Indoraptor?
It's ridiculous.
Deck?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
That is so stupid. I've been on the receiving end of that deck before. I actually played with him the day that he actually figured out that Thrumming Stone does what he doesn't think it did. Yeah. I I was there explaining it to him at the same time.
Oh,
He's like,
Lord.
"Oh, your dragon's approaches are gonna keep doing
Yeah,
their thing."
this is the
It was
one.
amazing.
Thrumming Stone with Dragon's Approach just kills the table because each copy you're casting just bolts each person. So like on the 30th one, you've done like 90 damage. So you only need to cast really like 15 of these for them to kill the table. So you're Thrumming Stone, you hit all of these. You're also like finding dragons along the way. I don't know. You're whatever dragons. Who cares? Like they're huge. Again, Galazeth Prismari is my favorite of them, but
yeah, I had Niv Mizzet as a suggestion as well. Like, how cool would that be?
100%
Like,
just draw your deck, dude.
right? That new one that draws you cards equal to the non-combat damage you do.
Yes.
Just like, oh, Niv Mizzet Visionary, and then Dragon's Approach, draw 3 cards. Dragon's Approach, draw 3 cards.
Dragon's Approach, draw 9 cards because you're doing 3 damage to each player. That's why Indoraptor is so good with this, is because it tracks that it's done 3 damage to each player. Dragon's Approach is broken. It is a broken card. This is the first one that I'm like certifiably broken on it.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up with this deck construction as well. You had mentioned about the card Locket of Yesterdays. That would be an amazing one with this one because you can get Dragon's Approach down all the way to like a red, I believe.
A single red mana. Yeah. So Locket of Yesterdays, it's one of my favorites of the Relentless staples. It's a single mana for an artifact that says spells you play cost 1 less for each card with the same name in your graveyard. So again, a card you would never play anywhere near a commander deck, but because you're playing 25 to 30 cards that are named the same thing, this is very quickly going to reduce it down. Now, what you could do is I have this sort of pipe dream of playing like a double Relentless deck where you pick 2 of these and you find how they work together. You could do Persistent Petitioners and Dragon's Approach, milling yourself to put more Dragon's Approaches in the graveyard, so you only have to cast 1 of them. It becomes bolt the table, tutor a dragon out into play, which I think is sick.
I bet Dragon's Approach and Shadowborn Apostles could potentially be interesting. I don't know if there's
like a
any
Rakdos.
Well, yeah, I don't know if there's any.
There's the combo piece.
I don't know if there's like a combo piece, but you could do like demons and dragons in the same deck.
Now we're playing Kalia the Vast.
Yeah,
Kalia's Relentless. I like it, dude.
Wait, wasn't there like how's it? Zayatora the Incinerator from Capenna. He was a demon dragon, wasn't he?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but
Jund Dragon's Approach.
I'm in, dude. Yeah, I do think that this is probably the strongest of the Relentless, or at least at the time that it was printed, it was the strongest of them for sure. It definitely inspired a lot of unique decks with it.
Talking about this weird idea of like blending some of them together, if you were building a deck of any of these, as we're talking about here as we continue on, where's your ratio on how many of them you're including in a deck? Does it depend on the card, you think?
I think it depends on the card. It depends on how much of the, like, maybe this comes into a bit of like bracket conversation as well, where like if you're building like a bracket 1 Relentless deck where like the goal is just play as many of these as possible, like sure, throw 36 in or whatever. I'm trying to pull it up in my deck list right now. I think I play 25. I play 25 Slime Against Humanity in my Relentless deck. And I feel like that feels right. What's nice is you can always adjust those as like, oh, this new cool card comes out that's a cool synergy piece. I don't want to trim any of the other synergy pieces that I have. I'll just cut one more of these Relentless cards. And I know too, like a few of the people on our Discord who were building around one of the other ones we're going to talk about later was like, this is totally fine to play 15 of these in a deck. And like you said, with like the 7 dwarves, like you can only play 7 of them. Nazgul, which we're about to talk about, you can only play 9 of them. So like they kind of put limits on some of them to kind of give you an idea of like, hey, putting 40 of these in a deck is probably not going to win the game. But when you start including other synergy, it would be funny. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. Just play with other bracket 1 decks where you're not actively trying to win the game. But playing them with a bunch of other synergy pieces, I would say 25 to 30 is probably where you want to sit.
Very cool. Very cool. And so, yeah, so you had just brought it up, but let's talk about probably what is going down as one of the more popular as far as its theming, the Nazgul.
Oh my God, yes. So the Nazgul is 2 and a black for a Wraith Knight that has Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. So this is from the Lord of the Rings set, obviously. And then whenever the ring tempts you, you put a counter on each Wraith you control. And then a deck can have up to 9 cards named Nazgul. These are you don't need synergy pieces with Nazgul. They do it themselves.
So here's my favorite thing here about the Nazgul, and I really wish they would give us this kind of style, what they did with the Nazgul outside of Secret Lair bonus cards. They did 9 unique arts for the Nazgul.
So tight.
And like, that's so fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine you've got your deck flushed out with all 9 of them, but every single one of them has a unique piece of artwork behind them. That is such a cool, flavorful thing. And it's just like, they could incorporate this into mainline sets. Like, give us like they actually used to do this kind of thing back in the day. We'll talk like the one I could think of offhand.
Back in like Ice Age. Brainstorm had like 4 different arts.
Yep, all of those kinds of things. Like the same card had different artworks in the main set itself.
For sure.
You don't have to do this all the time for every single one of them, but like when they redo Shadowborn Apostles again, like give us 4 different artworks in a deck. I was thinking about this. It's like would be so cool is like in a main set if you give us the Shadowborn Apostles and a particular demon like in that draft environment that you would do with it. But like let's say the 5 of them, they make a panorama, right? So you got like two different artworks 2 different artworks on the left, the demon in the center, and like 2 different ones on the right or whatever. And like that would fit. That would be so great.
Now I will say the downside of that is that even just the first Nazgul that I looked up to read the card is $12 because there's 9 different arts of them, and anybody who wants to play the Nazgul deck is going to want all 9 of them. So now demand is way higher than the supply is ever going to be for these uncommons. So they are the most expensive of them, even though you only need 9. $12 is insane for an uncommon.
I saw in doing the research for this one as well, that's the $12 from the main set one as well, and that's not taking into account foil. Those scroll treatment ones from the special edition collector boosters, $40 each.
That's what I would have guessed is $40. Yep. Ridiculous.
But what a cool set of little cards again. Again, this plays into the similar headspace as 7 Dwarves, where you obviously are not going to be having every single one of these down every single game. But I think with these Nazguls in specific, you really don't need more than 2 to start really popping off your synergy. Because
100%.
Their text on there that says that when the ring tempts you, you put a 1/1 counter on each Wraith you control. That triggers off of each Nazgul you have. So if you've got 3 Nazgul down in play and the ring tempts you, each one of those Wraiths is getting 3 +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, they're absolutely insane. This is another one that's like, this is so stupidly powerful, and the fact that you just get to play 9 of this card in your deck, like one of them alone would have been really good. Like just playing a Nazgul that says when the ring tempts you, this gets a counter, that would be very good. And then just having that 9 times across the board is ridiculous. I would say you probably are not playing Thrumming Stone in this deck because 9 out of 100 is not really high enough of a percentage to hit and continue to go through. But anything that's going to continue to tutor you out more Nazguls is the way to play this. I know Data Priest in our Discord plays Nazgul in his Sauron deck, the Sauron from the main set, I think, that wheels you, or you discard your hand, draw 4 whenever the ring tempts you. So playing the Nazguls in there is just, not only is it flavorful because it's Sauron's Nazgul, but you just play 3 mana and then get to wheel your hand and put counters on all your Wraiths, and it's ridiculous.
Yep, we've also got Fish, who has the Nazgul as well, but in a different direction with Frodo, Sauron's Bane. That's the Orzhov colored one for the exact same reasons. But because Frodo cares about how quickly you get to that maxed out ring emblem to make other people lose the game. Yep. My wife actually started into the Dimir build of Lord of the Nazgul. It was a standalone card from the commander decks itself. He was Dimir, made you a 3/3 Wraith anytime you cast a instant or sorcery, I believe.
Yeah.
And so now your Nazguls have other targets other than themselves for your +1/+1 counters as you ring bearer.
Nice. Sorry, real quick. My wife had to get that out.
I'm sure you saw I threw Marchesa the Black Rose in here as
Yeah,
well
that's
for
a
the
sick
same
one.
reason as well. You could do like a sick ring temps Nazgul, and then they die and they come right back and ring tempt again and start bop
Oh
bop
yeah.
bop bop.
They
You know what I
also
mean?
they combo with Radagadric, I think. It's the white black legend from Dominaria. I can't pronounce his name, but whenever a legendary creature of yours dies, it comes back as a non-legendary creature, or it makes it dies. It makes a copy of it that's non-legendary.
Non-legendary and a zombie. Yep.
Right. So any of the Nazgul combo with him at a sack outlet, because you play it, the ring tempts you, which the first thing the ring does is makes that creature legendary. So then you sacrifice it. It immediately
Oh,
comes back as a non-legendary copy. Ring tempts you again, throws legendary back onto it. So it becomes an infinite sack outlet with the ring tempts you.
interesting. I forgot about that as a synergy.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you get to play, like, obviously Radagadric wants you to play legendary creatures and sacrifice them, but now you just get to play this infinite combo with 9 different cards. You have 9 copies of your 2-card infinite combo in your deck.
Whoops.
Crazy strong.
But now, after the Nazgul, it's slime time.
Dude, I'm so excited to talk about this. So Slime Against Humanity is the Relentless deck that I own and play. And it is absolutely awesome. So Slime Against Humanity is from the Murders at Karlov Manor set. It is similar to Dragon's Approach in that it's a 3-mana sorcery. So it's 2 and a green for a sorcery. You create a 0/0 green ooze creature token with trample, and then you put X counters on it, where X is 2 plus the total number of cards you own in exile and in your graveyard that are oozes or are named Slime Against Humanity. And a deck can have any number of cards named Slime Against Humanity. So the reason I got excited about this one is a lot of the other ones, like Dragon's Approach, loses to a Leyline of the Void because you have to exile 4 other Dragon's Approach from your deck or from your graveyard in order to do it. Slime Against Humanity doesn't care. It checks both exile and graveyard, and that just allows for some ridiculous synergy. Not only is it like, I love oozes, like Gelatinous Cube is my favorite enemy. I like in D&D. I love anything that's oozy and gross. So getting to just make a bunch of Slime Against Humanities is really cool. You also get access to play things like, let me go into my enchantments here. You get Arcane Bombardment as like a synergy piece for this, which is 6 mana for an enchantment that when you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard, then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. You can cast any of the number of the copies without paying their mana cost. So because it's exiling those cards, it still is keeping track of all of them while they're in exile, while casting all of them again for free. So I'm playing this deck like a weird Spellslinger deck that just happens to win with all of its slimes on the board. And I refer to it as the Slime Casino because the commander is Krark the Thumbless. I will be honest, I don't play Krark's Thumb in the deck. It is just pure.
You should.
I know I should, but I don't. So it's just pure, like, you're either going to get 2 slimes or you're going to get none. So Krark the Thumbless, for those who aren't aware, is 2 mana for a 2/2 Goblin Wizard. When you cast an instant or sorcery, you flip a coin. If you win the coin flip, you get to double that spell, so you make a copy of it. If you lose the coin flip, that card goes back to your hand. So Krark is very famous for his Sakashima partner because it just negates. It's like playing Krark's Thumb in the command zone, and you just get to bring stuff back to your hand, do all this stuff. I'm playing Krark partnered with Slurk All Ingesting, which is a 6 mana ooze that comes in with 5 counters, and then when another creature you control dies, if it had a counter on it, you put a counter on each creature you control that has a counter on it. So it just spreads the ooze among other oozes. So it's sort of some insurance for like, oh, targeted removal of my slimes doesn't even matter because this is inevitable. You're just going to lose to the slime power. I do love too that the slimes naturally have trample. There's 0/0s with trample that gets the counters on top of them.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, so there's just natural evasion with it. It also allows you to play Minsk and Moo in the deck because he cares about sacrificing things with trample and throwing counters around. So you're just throwing slimes at people. Again, that also works really well with Slurk. because of all the +1/+1 counters. Now, mine specifically, not only are we getting weird with the slime casino, but mine is also a polymorph deck because we're playing creatures that are on instants and sorceries. So I can just have my deck has 6 creatures in it. And if any of them hit, it's incredible. So we're playing things like Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. Wart the Raid Mother is another. I saw when the deck started to come out, people were talking about playing it with Wart the Raid Mother.
I've actually got that here as a suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So mine is just a worse version of that because I think it's fun. But you can polymorph. So you get Transmogrify. You get there's a Planeswalker. Which one? It's not Luris. What's his name? Luca that polymorphs as well. And then there's one that polymorphs 2 creatures. If I can ever find my sorceries. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, it's an instant. That's why I couldn't find it. Divergent Transformations. Which costs 1 less for each opponent anyway, costs 7 mana. Exile 2 target creatures. For each of those creatures, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card and put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles the rest of their library. So it's one of my more fun decks because half the time it does nothing. And I just go like, cast this, lost the coin flip, back to my hand, pass the turn. And then the other half of the time, it's like I've got 27 oozes that are all 27/27s. Fling. It's awesome. So this was the first one that got me really excited about Relentless decks. I'll have a link to my whole deck list down below that you can check out. I'm tweaking it right now, so some of it's not exactly accurate, but it is an unbelievably fun deck to play. Dude, Kodama of the West Tree in this deck. It's so good.
Amazing.
So sick. But yeah, that's my Relentless deck.
No, it's a very cool one. I've been on the receiving end of it. It's incredibly fun. But let's go ahead and keep chugging along. We're near the tail end here. And we're actually specifically at this point, now we've talked about Slime Against Humanity. We're now caught up to as far as like the Relentless cards that us here on the channel have covered before.
Yeah.
A little bit on our previous episode. So we're going to try to breeze through these like a little bit quickly just to kind of cover it. But if you want any other further particular notes about some of these last ones that we're talking about here, please refer back to previous videos that we have covered before.
Yeah.
But next up is our good friend Templar Knights. It is from the Assassin's Creed little booster set. Remember that? That joke has been made before, right?
The Aftermath set, right?
Aftermath 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Right. Featuring Assassin's Creed.
Excuse me.
Wow, that really got you. That wasn't even the best joke I've made on today's episode.
I'm good. Okay.
Take your time, dude. Take your time.
The way you said that made me think of a completely different meme. It just made me...
I'm happy that I could provide this level of entertainment for, if anybody, you, John.
I'm sorry. Okay. Whew. So, our friend Templar Knight is 1 and a white for a 3/1 human knight with vigilance. That for a white mana, tap 5 untapped attacking creatures you control named Templar Knight. Search your library for a legendary artifact, put it onto the battlefield and shuffle, and then has the can have any number of them in your deck text line. So
weird.
We're working on like a similar vibe to Shadowborn Apostles where you need a specific amount of them and then it's an activated ability. But the difference here is that as you activate the ability, they are not getting sacrificed at all. So you get to keep doing this on repeat if you can keep the combats coming, I suppose. And second, they have to be in the middle of combat right then and there, right? So like you get this artifact essentially during the combat step, which is very odd and unique timing. But I think there's some weird stuff you can do with these here, right? Like we last time we talked about this card, we talked about all kinds of really wacky and strange legendary artifacts, like of which is Thrumming Stone. But you could also do stuff like a Chroma's Memorial and like some of those
in the combat step, a Chroma's Memorial is sick.
Yeah, or like Graz, the Unstoppable Juggernaut, stuff like that. Things that are like big, legendary, dumb artifacts. And that's even just within mono white. You're doing Templar Knights in a different color combination. You could be doing stuff like, I don't know, Selesnya, middle of combat, go grab the Great Henge.
Bolas' Citadel if you're playing black.
Bolas' Citadel, yep.
And you're playing a
So,
bracket 3 deck because it's a game changer.
uh,
I would say it's
uh,
not necessarily a game changer in the Templar Knight deck. I would feel that argument.
Some sick build ideas that I saw is stuff like Adeline, Resplendent Cathar. So like you could be playing these knights and then Adeline, and then you're putting more
Make extra
tokens down on
tokens.
top of on top of the knights. Sidar Jabari of Zalfir would also just be your general purpose Knights Kindred as well.
Eminence is not bad.
Eminence is not bad. Yep, and then that opens you up to 3 different color combinations for all kinds of different wacky legendary artifacts.
Yeah. I love that. I think there was a video, there was a Commander at Home video where somebody was playing a Sidar Jabari Templar Knight deck, and it was sick. Like, it was very sick.
Cool. I like it. I'm a very big fan. But I'd say, speaking of big fan, let's talk about the Crack Rabbit. I think
Hare Apparent, baby.
Hare Apparent is, in my opinion, the most cracked. Like you said, Dragon's Approach is incredibly strong. I would want to argue Hare Apparent, I think, is the strongest on this list.
Yeah. The only reason, let's talk about Hare Apparent first, and then I'll tell you why I still stand by Dragon's Approach as being the strongest of them. Hare Apparent is 2 mana for a 1/1 rabbit. When it enters, it's a 2/2 rabbit. Sorry, I was in the middle of pulling it up. It's 2 mana for a 2/2 rabbit noble. Notably, because it's a riff on Heir Apparent, obviously. Of like, this is the person who's gonna, get it. So when the creature enters, you create a number of 1/1 white rabbits equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent, and a deck can have any number of them. So you play one of them, you get no tokens. You play a second one, you get 1 token. You play a third one, you get 2 tokens, and so on and so forth from that. Obviously, if they all blink in together, as you would with Nahiri's Resolve or something. Not to talk about Nahiri's Resolve again.
We did it, boys.
We did it. We got back there. If you blink all of them in at the same time with Nahiri's Resolve or another mass blink effect like that, they all check to see each other. But if you're playing them in succession, it's basically like you get tokens equal to the number of Hare Apparents you have -1, which builds up real fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've really stopped talking about the importance of this card basically since it was previewed. And basically since Foundations, it has been basically exploding as far as its popularity is concerned across a variety of different build styles. You want to do Blink, you want to do Token Focus, you want to do Combat Focus, you want to play Power 2 or less. Like, you were talking about how that's been kind of cropping up as a really newer style of deck build, and my goodness, this you and I both have been on the receiving end of several different power level builds of Arabella Abandoned Doll doing the Crack Rabbit here.
Plain old Commander, Popper Commander. That's I think this is also something important to note, is most of these that we've talked about, if not all of them except for the Nazgul, have been commons. And I think that the Nazgul is the only of the uncommons. Maybe Seven Dwarves is an uncommon as well.
Templar Knights is an uncommon. Everything else is common.
Yep. Wild. Yeah, so these are all popper playable. Which Hare Apparent wreaks some absolute havoc in, especially with Arabella Abandoned Doll on the top end there.
It where I'm at with this, it just I just cannot just grasp the idea of something so innocuous and simple just absolutely destroying games the moment more than 2 of them start hitting the battlefield.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and this is where, going back to the argument of Dragon's Approach is stronger than this. If you can get rid of the Hare Apparents, as they play them, and you can keep them kind of locked into, I'm just playing one at a time, they're just Grizzly Bears. Dragon's Approach, even if you counter them as they're being played and you don't get the benefit of them, the 5th one is the only one that they need to play for it to matter. So obviously, there's other workarounds with the Hare Apparents of milling them yourselves and then bringing them all back from the graveyard, reanimating them. Because again, Dewdrop Cure from Bloomburrow is one of my favorite cards that's come out in a while. That just you gift a card and can reanimate 3 creatures with power 2 or less from your graveyard for 3 mana. Absolutely ridiculous.
Foundations itself, I believe, even had a 2 and double white sorcery that reanimated all your mana value 2 or less. I
Exactly.
want to
So
say.
there's ways to counteract that, but I think on their own, like in a vacuum, Dragon's Approach is the stronger of the two. But in practice and playing against Hare Apparents, it's so sticky they never go away. So you just have to be
I
prepared to be clapped by some rabbits.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess yeah, that's it for the Hare Apparents, I suppose. We'll just then briefly go ahead and bring it right back around to where we were last week with Tempest Hawk.
Tempest
Our
Hawk. Tell me about it, John.
Yep, our most recent new addition to the Relentless lineup here. 2 and a white for a 2/2 bird. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a card named Tempest Hawk, reveal it, put into your hand, and shuffle. The bird also has flying, as you would expect, and you can have any number of them in your deck.
I love
Again,
this. This is
yeah,
so sick.
it's so cool. I mean, we started the conversation of this a little bit last week, but just like the overall vibe on this is just like, yeah, you just want to smash in with your birds, start tutoring out as many more as you can, and just get them down as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And the same kind of attributes apply to this one as well, like what we were talking about with like the Seven Dwarves as well. You could start doing like token copies, clones, myriad, that kind of stuff. Again, the card is still the same card no matter how the version of it has come down into play, whether it be like a clone or a token. So if you get in with a token, you get to go search for a real one,
Yeah.
and
Very,
vice
very
versa.
sick. I'm sure that there's some very clever builds involving tutoring and how often you're shuffling your deck with this, because each one of these individually tutors itself and then shuffles.
Oh, that's a headache in paper.
Well, you would shortcut it in paper. It actually I think is going to be a headache on Arena because every single one of those you have to go click one, I will grab it.
That's
Click one, I
true.
will grab it. Click one, I'll grab it. It's going to be way easier in paper than on Arena. But what's cool about it is that unlike any of the other ones, it starts doubling the more that you put down. So you get one in play, and then you attack with it, and you go and tutor one and play that one down. Then the next turn that you attack with 2 of those, each of them individually trigger, like we've been saying, you get to go and search for 2 of them to your hand. Put those down. Then you swing with 4 of them, and you go and get to find 4 more to your hand. So at some point, this just keeps your hand completely stocked as soon as you have like 5 or 6 of them down, which I saw you mentioned here, as we mentioned last week as well, Castrol the Wing Crested, which is whenever a bird deals damage to a player, you get to just drop a bird from your hand into play. So you could stack that trigger to like tutor 4/1, put them into play. This is probably the strongest of those commanders for it.
Yeah, I mean, I did also find out here from the Lord of the Rings one as well. The oh dear, Gwahir,
Sure.
Gwahir, the Wind Lord. It would open you up to Azorius. It costs 2 less as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards that turn. Flying, vigilance, and other birds you control have vigilance.
That's really sick. I think like a blue-white birds deck that just has like good bird legends like Castrol and Gwahir, and just has all of these Tempest Hawks in. I also think that there's a cool mono white deck, like I said, of blending the 2 Relentless ones that you could just play Tempest Hawk and like Hare Apparent with Delny, so that you're just getting double rabbits and then getting double tutors
birds.
from all of these and just refilling everything. Delny's Birds and Rabbits Emporium.
Delny's Uncaged Menagerie.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Throw some Templar Knights in there too. They're the zookeepers.
exactly. Yeah.
Delny
So,
Zookeeper. There
Delny
we go.
Zookeeper. And then you get to go and find your Thrumming Stone, and then something that you play will hit. Like, oh, I'm just going to go get all of my Hare Apparents out from this. It seems really sick. I also love, similar to Slime Against Humanity, I love that this naturally has evasion on it. So you don't have to, like, the thing with the 7 dwarves is that at their most, when you have all 7 of them down, they're just 8/8s, like on their own, or 9/9s or whatever they are. They're just getting the buff from them, but you still have to figure out a way to get them actually in and not chumped by a token. What I love about Slime Against Humanity and about Tempest Hawk is that they're naturally evasive and are able to get around things like that.
It's cool. Like I said, there's a different feel, different vibe. Like, even though all of these cards that we have talked about today share a similar headspace of you get to include as many of them as you want into the decks that you build, like barring the 7 Dwarves and Nazgul idea. But they live in the same atmosphere of how you would kind of structure the deck as a skeleton, but then every single one of them, based on their abilities, their styles, and their colors, almost every single one of these plays slightly different. And that's
100%.
unique, right? Like, you're already going to be doing a very interesting, unique idea to the game of breaking the commander rule, which
For
is
sure.
like the most defining thing about these cards, right? And
Yeah.
that's great. You get to build and play and incorporate very unconventional, sometimes not even worthwhile playing in any other form of commander ever.
Yeah. Well, this is, again, I like talking a lot about harkening back to the original days of Commander, which I obviously was not a part of. But the format was started because people had these cards in their binders that weren't good anywhere else. And we're like, well, if we put these in a 100 card singleton deck and they show up once in a while and it's a slower format, like these are going to be good. The reason why I wanted to start building Slime Against Humanity is not because it was my favorite card in the set, but because I had a Pyromancer's Ascension that was sitting in my trade binder that had been there for 5 or 6 years. I was like, I just want to find something to use this for. And finding a use for Pyromancer's Ascension in Commander is so unbelievably sick that, like, it's such a good, like, if you're in builder's block of Commander decks, you're like, I just don't know what to build. Just start theory crafting one of these Relentless decks and you'll start finding these little branching angles. Like I said, for me, it was playing Pyromancer's Ascension and a polymorph deck that all was in this shell of a slime casino. Like, it's such a cool concept that you're just not going to get from a traditional Commander deck.
Now, obviously, like, you had brought up a little bit a bit ago when we were talking about Nazgul as far as like an expensive piece or whatever. The big caveat here when it comes to talking
Yeah.
about Relentless is that even some of these at common, they will run you like $2 to $4 a pop,
Oh
depending
yeah.
on the card, give or
I
take.
think I paid $250 a piece for my Slime Against Humanities, and I needed
Yeah.
50 of them. So that hurt, but it's a buy once, cry once thing of like, okay, I spent $100 on my Slime Against Humanities, and now I have all of them that I will ever need for whatever shell I'm going to need for them.
Exactly. Yeah. So just that's the kind of thing to keep in mind when going into building one of these, especially from the ground up. Like you had said, if you don't own any of them
Yeah,
and you
it's
just
tough
happen into one of the ones that's like what I think hares are still $3 each. So like
for
if you have
sure.
none of those and you want to build a deck that includes 30 plus, then
It's a lot.
that's a significant budget to
Yeah.
work towards.
I would
But
say too,
if
like, I'm not usually an advocate of proxying your commander decks, but especially while you're playtesting the decks, like I had for so long, most of my slimes were just cards that I had flipped backwards in the sleeve and was like, hey guys, as long as you're okay with this, like I have 10 of these, I'm looking for the other 15, but there's like 15 just backwards cards. These are all Slime Against Humanities in the deck. It becomes really easy and you don't even need a printer for it. You can just explain and say like, hey, there's 25 cards that are backwards. These are my Hare Apparents.
excellent. Yep. I'm a big fan of it, and I really look forward to seeing now that they have been doing more of these relentless cards more frequently. I'm very excited to see like what sort of other ideas and themes they come up with into the future.
Definitely. Yeah. And we want to hear about your relentless decks in the comments down below or on our Discord, on our Discord. You can tell us all about them. I want to see some deck lists. I want to see your cool Dragons Approach decks. I want to see your cool, like, sell me on Relentless Rats. Tell me why Relentless Rats is better than I think it is. All of that down below in the comments. John, do you have any parting thoughts before we take off from today's episode?
I think we've covered all of it. It's just like this is one of the most interesting, fun things that you can do as a commander player, and I feel like everybody should experience a deck like this at some point in their Magic history.
Absolutely. Just build one of them, let it sit with you. You might keep it forever, you might take it apart, but it's a cool way to grow as a deck builder for sure. Well, I think that's all we've got for today. Thank you all for watching so much. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing, joining our Discord, 5-star reviews. Thanks for all this stuff. We'll see you next time on the Thoughtcast.